Welcome to State of the Frogs with Coach Mark Campbell. I'm your host, Bingo Merriex. It's been brought to you by Richard's Rainwater. And Coach, thank you for coming in, stopping by, seeing us today. We're going to talk to you a little bit today about the non-conference and everything and how that's been going so far with you. And just tell us a little bit about how the season has started. Your team is one of the hottest teams in the country right now.
Yeah, non-conference has unfolded in a way that you hope. You never know. So when you do scheduling, obviously, you set it up way in advance. And so we tried to put together a non-conference schedule that would be one of the best ones in the country. And kind of the three highlights of that schedule would be NC State, who was number 9 in the country when we played them, Notre Dame, who was number 3 in the country, and South Carolina, who was number 3 in the country. And so part of that, you do that for your net rankings to build your resume for March Madness. And then part of it is you're just doing it to test yourselves as we build our program against the best teams in the country and to get a barometer and figure out where we're at. And so fortunately, we've gone 2-1 against those teams and have learned a lot. And we still got 2 more non-league games left.
So, in talking about like your strength of schedule, you know, you went 2-1 and everything, and the game that you lost was against the defending national champions, South Carolina. Can you tell us a little bit about what did you take away from that game as far as learning, as far as a coach and as your team, and how do you move forward with that?
Yeah, great question. So each one of those provided different learning lessons, right? So the NC State game was at the Schollmaier, had a great crowd. And that was one that came down to the last minute of the game. And we had to execute down the stretch and take care of the ball and hit free throws and find a way to finish off that opponent. And so that was an incredible learning experience. And that also was the first test for our kids to start to believe as a unit. Individually, they know they're really good players.
Right.
But as a unit, that was the first time that we got to go, we're pretty good. And then the Notre Dame game was a marquee matchup, but it was in the Cayman Islands. And so you're in this small gym. There's maybe 150 people there. And so even though it's a big-time showdown, it almost felt like a close scrimmage type environment. And that was one where we were in the hole big, down 14 heading into the fourth quarter, and we rallied, scored 31 in the fourth, but we dug out of a deep hole. And found a way to win that one. And so that provided a great learning experience and another opportunity for us to believe in what we're doing collectively. And then you had the granddaddy of them all, and you got South Carolina coming to town. And that was at Dickey's, you know, in front of 8,000 people. And so that felt like an NCAA tournament environment, crowd. And South Carolina is a different monster. They've won 2 of the last 3 national championships. Their athletic ability, their depth, and their mindset, man, they were straight business from the tip. And so that was one that we weren't ready for what they brought. And so that was an incredible learning experience. And you schedule these ones for that reason. And so South Carolina is the best program in college basketball right now. And I think that's crystal clear over the last couple of years. And so to get to feel it, taste it, compete against it, and that's what you're chasing. That's what you eventually want to build here at TCU.
And so you talk about, like, you know, you schedule them early in the year. You want those type of tests early for when you do get to postseason play, you kind of know and kind of can be better in postseason with that. And I think that helps the team out now as you're going into Big 12 play as well. So how, as your team, what do you think that you need to work on as far as moving forward to continue to be one of the contenders?
Were you at practice today? Because you basically sound like our message. You know, the message was, next time you play a South Carolina or a team similar to that in March Madness, I guarantee you we are more prepared and understand the fight that we're about to get into. And so, by the way, film session from that was no fun, but a great learning experience. And so now as we're starting to inch closer towards Big 12 play, you got, I think it's 4 top 25 teams, Baylor and West Virginia, Kansas State, Iowa State. These non-conference games are preparing us for those ones. And obviously the Big 12's deep. talented, both on the men's and women's side. So we got 18 games that are absolute street fights.
Yeah. And so when you talk about just, you've gotten off to great starts both years. Of course, injury last year, unfortunately, but this year, like the non-conference, it seems like your team will be prepared. Like you prepare well, you practice well, and so that's just a tribute to the coaching and starting with the general. So how do you prepare as far as when you're getting your troops ready for the non-conference? Because the Big 12 is definitely different. It's a step up. So how does that preparation help you?
No doubt. Well, South Carolina messed up our non-con record. I think we were, I can't remember, I could be
25
off.
25-0.
Was that what it was?
Before they lost to them, you was 14-0 and 25, 9-0, and then 25-0 before that loss.
Yep. So it's a credit to the kids. Obviously, a year ago, everybody was learning a brand new system from scratch, and we were 14-0, and that group, if they wouldn't have had those injuries, that was a top 25 team. We just didn't quite have the depth to sustain those injuries. Now this year's group, we do have depth, and if someone gets banged up, fortunately we haven't. We've been healthy so far, but now we got depth to absorb injuries, because part of competition, you're going to have stuff that happens, right? And you need players that can fill those roles, and we have that this year. And so as you go through that 18-game grind of the Big 12, you got to be able to weather the storm when you have some injuries. And we're prepared and ready for that. Not only depth, but we got our group, our average age is 22 years old. So you got a very mature group that's been through the battles, that understands it. And so I'm excited. Now, we still got to finish these last couple non-conference games, starting Sunday. But this group is locked in. We got La Tech coming in here on Sunday. I'll tell you what, after that South Carolina game, you're going to get a dialed-in and focused Frog team showing up.
Yeah, I feel sorry for La Tech. We don't want to put any jinx on it, but after losses like that, being an athlete, you can't wait to play that next game. So I can imagine when you get back out there on Sunday, it's going to be an intense game for sure.
No doubt. We'll turn the kids loose between they're done with finals.
Yeah.
And they're going to be tired of me and practicing. They're going to be ready to play somebody else.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So when we come back, we're going to talk about those players. And this has been State of the Frogs with Coach Mark Campbell. And we'll be back, and it's been presented by Richard's Rainwater.
What do you see when you look up at the clouds? At Richard's Rainwater, we see the greatest source of pure, delicious water looking right back down at us. We've invented a simple, powerful technology to collect and bottle rainwater. Our process begins with the rain. When clouds become saturated, droplets fall from the sky. Rainfall is a naturally cleansing event. During the first few minutes, the raindrops clean the atmosphere and wash away any dirt or debris from surface areas. At this cleanest point in the rain cycle, we collect the pure raindrops into large storage vessels. Then, we use a simple, yet effective combination of ozone and microfiltration to ensure our rainwater surpasses the highest drinking water standards. We pour the pure, refreshing rainwater into glass bottles and aluminum cans, packaging as infinitely renewable as the water itself. Richard's Rainwater is building a network of collection systems across the country to ensure our rainwater is local everywhere. The purest, best-tasting water comes from the sky. Richard's Rainwater, sip the sky.
I could not be more excited to be your next leader of your women's basketball program. Every sport at TCU is competing for championships and winning at the highest level, except for the women's basketball program, and we're going to get that fixed. At the end of the day, you need good players, and you need talented players. And so the portal, it's a new thing in college athletics that everybody's still trying to figure out, and try to figure out how you want to blend high school kids with portal kids. And we want to build a program that's built to last, but we also want to win, and we want to win quickly. We will recruit the best of the best because of what TCU offers. And so a student athlete that wants and values an education that we provide, and then a student athlete that wants to be a pro, that wants to chase their dreams and also wants to compete for national championships. And so the reality is there's not a lot of those out there. and they're easy to find, but they're hard to land. And so we're going to go get those ones. Our program is transitioning into a new era. There is a great opportunity right now for our women's program to make up a lot of ground really quickly. And so it's a really exciting time to take over this program.
Back here on State of the Frogs with Coach Mark Campbell, presented by Richards Rainwater. Coach, now we just seen a clip of you when you first was introduced here and what you were talking about as far as, wanting to win and wanting to win fast. And it seems like you've a man of your word, and you've done that. And like I say, 14-0 start last year and ended up winning 20 games last year and 9-0 start this year. Man, what is the secret to your fast starts?
I think it's two things, right? I'm thankful for the portal, first of all. The portal allows you to get old and get talent immediately. Where in the olden days, it was you had to go through the high school process, and that's years.
Right.
And then second, I think our staff does an incredible job vetting the kids, and that's two pieces, right? Finding the right kids that fit our spread pick and roll system. And then the next part's the culture piece, which I think we've nailed. And we value that even more so than the basketball element, is to get a collection of young women, 14 to 15 young women to come to enjoy each other, to get the locker room right. You get those things dialed in, the wins, the performance, it all takes care of itself. And so you have a vision, you have expectation, and then I'm going to add this: TCU, it attracts a really high achieving kid. Fort Worth's amazing. The community support's amazing. The university, the academic piece, it's a really special package. And that's easy to sell. And so you combine all those things, and we were able to get really good really quick.
And so you talk about, the average age on your team is 22. So how is it with the high school players and the portal players? How do they integrate together? Because, the older and the younger, trying to mix those together, that says a lot about the general as well, too, to have the culture that we talk about with the women's basketball to be so well knit.
It's blending it all together, right? It's a living organism. And so managing it, truly understanding the pulse of your team, the pulse of the locker room, what kids are what each of them individually are going through. I think our staff, we break it down so each staff member has about 3 kids that they oversee and really know what's going on in their life outside of basketball. So that you're able to walk on that journey with those kids. And so because basketball is a huge part of this time that they're here, but it's not everything, right? And so we do a great job, and we really pour a lot of time and energy into that.
And so also just with that too, your players, you pick them, it's everything, you and your staff, and you have the pick and roll spread offense. And it seems as though you have a pass first caliber type players. Is that just the way the nature of the game goes for you and you've been blessed with that? Or is that what you're preaching to your players as far as pass first, get the best shot, get the greatest shot possible?
You preach it, but more importantly, it's in the recruiting process and those film and finding those kind of kids that have that gift. Vision is something you can't teach. You can preach sharing the ball, but actually having great vision, the players have it or they don't. Someone like Haley right now that's top 10 in the country in assists. We didn't teach her how to see these things. We saw her vision and her playmaking ability. Now we're putting her in space and putting her in situations where that gift gets to shine, and you get to see it. And so I think it's a combination of, obviously we really preach it, but on the front end, finding players that are humble kids that play the game the right way, that share the ball, and then the ones that have it, that see it. And we have some really good guards. Una is a great playmaker that sees it, and Donovan Hunter sees it, and Haley sees it, and Madison Connors, her improvement from last year to this year in her ability to play in the pick and roll and be able to make the reads. But we have a collection. Taylor Bigby as a hybrid forward has an unbelievable feel and vision. And so Sedona Prince as a center, it's unique that she is a very talented passer with great vision. And so you put it all together, and it's why we're top 5, top 10 in the country in assists per game.
Right. And so just with that pass first type and just that unselfishness, do you see yourself as a coach sometime having to stress, maybe be a little bit more aggressive? Oh, you're passing a little too much. Do you ever run into that problem every now and then?
Yeah, for sure, because some of these kids are too unselfish.
Right.
But we give them and empower them. We want to lead the country in threes attempted per game. You want to spread people out, so they get a lot of freedom to do it. But the kind of kids we have, you're spot on. Sometimes it's funny. They will overpass, right? Like drive, kick. When you're open, sometimes you got to shoot that thing and let it fly.
Right, yeah. And that's big. You talk about wanting to lead the country in three-pointers attempted, that's the name of the game now, seems like, get those threes up and you have, very great shooters and just skilled players across the board. And I think that helps to y'all being top 15 in the country right now.
Yep. It's a trickle-down effect from the WNBA, the NBA, and what they're doing eventually trickles down to the college level. And right now in the WNBA, the NBA, it's 3 and key.
Right.
And they spread you out. And at that level, they even have their 5s that can really shoot it, and it opens the court. And
right.
Boston Celtics right now are leading the charge in that.
Right.
Obviously, the New York Liberty do an amazing job with that. And so we're studying those leagues and making sure we're on the forefront of what's being ran at that level. And we steal everything.
Yeah.
Everything we run from the W and the NBA.
Yeah.
All of our actions and concepts. And this year we had to change our playbook a little bit to figure out how to maximize the collection of pieces that we have. And so that's one of the fun parts in the off season as a coach, is studying the game and figuring out what this team needs.
Yeah. And it seems like you've been doing a great job and the recipe has been working. We just seen a clip from Madison Connor talking about the culture and just how unique this team is and how it's no drama, everybody likes each other. And, you see a lot of people say that and then it doesn't translate into the game. You see it on TV, but with your team, you can actually see that your girls, they love playing with each other.
Yeah.
The culture is just great. And just, can you tell us a little bit about the culture? Like you said, you had coaches that have 3, players per your coaches, but that culture is something that's very important as far as playing great basketball.
She's spot on. And one of the neat things about the portal is you have a group of players that have come from a wide variety of backgrounds. And usually, not always, they leave for different reasons and they didn't fit there, whether that's culture-wise, basketball-wise. And so you have these a group of kids coming into our deal. And I think how we treat them, how we operate, the way we run our programs, very unique.
Yeah.
And then we pour into it. We started a thing this year, and we have a leadership committee. And that's a collection of players. There's 5 of them that are a part of it. And we'll do 11 sessions between now and March when our season's done and meet every other week. And talk through leadership and what that looks like. And there's 11 different topics. But if you want your culture and your locker room to be right, you got to pour into it no different than you do, the skill set of a player. And so we really value it. And a lot of people say they value it, and culture is a trendy word to throw out there, but who's truly investing in it, and walking through what that means for the kids.
Nice. That. So, man, when we come back, we'll be talking to one of the star players, Agnes Emma-Nnopu, when we come back on State of the Frogs, presented to you by Richard's Rainwater.
Energy does everything for us. It's all-encompassing.
We're all benefiting and affected from it.
And it is something that we all need to know about.
It is the glue that holds everything together.
TCU is powering what matters, our future.
We don't just talk about what's needed, we focus on results.
The Ralph Lowe Energy Institute is creating a world where energy is affordable, sustainable, and reliable.
Back here on State of the Frogs with Coach Mark Campbell. I'm your host, Bingo Merriex, presented to you by Richard's Rainwater. We have our star spotlight sitting here today with Agnes. Thank you for stopping by, talking with us and everything. And so far, let's start off with, how are you enjoying the season so far? You know, 9-0 start, just lost to the defending champion, South Carolina, but it was a great test for the team. Like, what is your state now? How are you feeling about the season so far?
Yeah, I'm feeling excited. I feel like we have a great group of girls. Like, obviously we have 6 new transfers in, but I think everyone's gelling really well on the court, off the court. They're just like a fun group to be around. So I'm really enjoying it, yeah.
Now, talking about this season, now talking about last season,
Yes.
33 games, you started all 33 of those games, and just the longevity of that. What's your secret? Like, how do you keep so fit and to be able to play those games? Because I seen you on the court, like, you put it all out there. So what is your preparation in being prepared for games?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, like, I think especially as a senior and now a 5th-year senior, like, taking care of my buddies has been a big part. So I double down on my recovery. So like, you can ask our athletic trainer. I'm in the training room like constantly. Like, I'll probably stay longer after practice, and then I'll be in the training room for like a couple hours after, just making sure I get like the treatment and the recovery I need. But I'd say, like, in terms of preparation, like playing at Stanford and like watching like those leaders that I had, I guess I like have sort of just taken on some of the things that I've seen them do. Like, they were big on taking care of their bodies, big on like staying and getting extra shots. So like that sort of just rubbed off on me. And so those are things I take on.
So in taking on that, you know, in talking about Stanford a little bit, national champion. So you're bringing that rapport, that recipe also to TCU, and you're one of the experienced players being at TCU and just overall. How has your leadership helped some of your teammates in moving forward in this season?
Yeah, definitely. I think like with leadership, like, it's something I continually want to like grow at. So I think for me, my leadership kind of comes out in like my work ethic and like how hard I'm playing like in practice. And I think I'm more of like a pull someone to the side and like try to fill their cup with like encouragement sort of leader. But I think in terms of like growing that, I'm trying to be more of a vocal leader. So I think that is something that leading up, and I think it's something we all need to do better at in terms of like getting where we want to get to in March.
So that's a good point you make, because you have vocal leaders and you have the ones that show. So you're saying you're more of an action dude, like, you know, watching me and everything like that.
100%.
So you're saying your vocal has gotten better this year?
I think so. I think like definitely on the defensive end, I feel like I still need to get better in terms like in team huddles, like if I have something to say, because I think I'm a very like observant sort of person. So I do have like a lot of things I want to say, but I'm like, okay, like let someone else say something, then maybe I'll come in with that. So I think like stepping up and like speaking on what I'm seeing early.
And so just with that as well too, just your experience overall, your experience dates back even before your college days, because moved to Australia when you was 3 years old. And so moving there, you played and you won some medals while you was out there too. So can you just tell us a little bit about your experience overseas? Do you think that helped prepare you for the college game as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think like growing up and being like a 15-year-old playing in like semi-pro and like pro leagues and pro teams, I was able to go against like bigger women, like battling against like bigger bodies, like not just kids and things like that. So I think that helped me with like the physicality aspect of college. And I think like when you play against older ladies, like they know the game really well. So I think being able to learn from them, like see their mistakes, even in those situations, like if I wasn't playing, I was watching and seeing what like those who have had that kind of experience in the game were doing.
So how many medals did you win?
I played 4 years with like Team Australia, and so I got gold in FIBA U16s, bronze FIBA World Championships U17, bronze in FIBA U18 like qualifiers, and then we lost in overtime to USA in the World Championship game U19, so we ended up with the silver medal there.
Man,
yeah, I know that was that game was a done deal. So that one still stings to this day.
That's 4 more medals than I had. But I tell you, did you played against one of your teammates?
I did.
That you play with now. Who
was it?
Talk about that a little bit.
So we played Team USA, and they had like a stacked roster, and one of their players was obviously like Al Haley, and I remember like that game. I think it was 12 seconds left. We're up by like 4 or so. We end up getting like an unsportsmanlike foul. Haley, then they hit the free throws, then Haley gets a backdoor cut to send the game into overtime. Wow. And then we ended up losing that one. Wow. Yeah, and that was in Thailand. So yeah, they had a great team. I think Caitlin was on that team. Paige Beckers, Cam Brink, Haley.
They were stacked.
They were stacked. Aaliyah Boston, loaded. Yeah.
And so now also too, man, it just seems like you do everything. You do a little bit of everything. Offensive rebound, defense and blocking shots, assists, and even a shooter too. 47% from the three-point line so far this year. Your shots, like when you're practicing, how does that? Take us through that a little bit with your shot selection and practice.
I think like the coaches have put a lot of confidence in like you shoot this high percentage in practice. Like anytime your feet are set, like we want you to let that ball go. And so I think for me, just like trying to get like game-like shots when I'm working out. So I think everything I'm trying to like do at a pace that like, okay, if I got this shot in the game, it would be at the same sort of pace. Yeah. So I think just like working at like a high like game intensity. That's probably what.
Okay, so do you have a set amount of shots you try to make or shoot, or you just go in and you just work on game situations to how you feel? How does that work for you?
It depends. So sometimes I'll come in and I'll work out with the coach in the evening, and then that's like they have a lot of drills that I'm doing, and like we're working on like different sort of like game scenario shots. After practice, I do shoot. I go 10 from 7 spots, and then I do rises and like lifts. So I try to like finish with like 100 just right after practice. Then when I come in my own time, I'm like, the goal is like shoot at least 500. But I have a routine where it's like I'm doing my mid ranges, my pull-ups, the curls, and then the threes. But then like try to maintain like a good percentage of like 75 plus.
Well, it's paying off because 47% so far, man. You're gonna make me try to come out of retirement. But I'm gonna need a year or so to. 47% is good. Keep up the good work. Best wishes for the rest of the season. Thank you for stopping by and talking to us. When we come back, we'll be talking back with Coach Campbell again about the Big 12 and the start of the Big 12. This has been State of the Frogs with Coach Mark Campbell, presented to you by Richards Rainwater.
Welcome to the Squire Shop.
We are locally owned and operated since 1994.
We specialize in the finest men's clothing that the market has to offer at affordable prices with unbelievable service.
We do custom clothing all the way to more casual, Peter Millar, Johnny O, kind of everything. Well, my dad's the owner, so I've been around retail my whole life. Oh, it's great. I mean, it's the best boss I'll ever have. I know that.
We love our TCU community. They have been so good to us. Come see us today. Go Frogs!
All right, back on State of the Frogs with Coach Mark Campbell. We'd like to thank Agnes for stopping by, talking with us, and presented to you by Richards Rainwater. Coach, we'd like to talk now about the Big 12, the start of the Big 12 coming up. It's exciting, a new season and everything. And so what are your expectations and what are you looking for in the Big 12 this season?
Well, you got me talking Big 12. We still got non-league left. So that's, man, Big 12's a monster, right? We got a couple more non-league games to finish up. And then it's one of the best women's leagues in the country. And you got Kansas State and Iowa State, West Virginia, Baylor, Arizona, Utah. I mean, you just got a long list of women's programs with great coaches. And so we got our work cut out. But the non-league schedule has prepared us for this 18-game grind that we're about to embark on. And I think our opener is against Central Florida on the road. And so I know once we button up our non-league, and then you get a short Christmas break, and then it's game on.
Game on. Do you have any Christmas wishes? Do you have any?
Health. Yes, I do.
That's a good one.
As a coach, you pray for health for your group, and obviously last year was unique. But as you go through, the basketball season's long.
Right.
It is. It's the longest sport of any in college athletics. And so if I could have one Christmas wish right now, it'd be that this group can stay healthy. Because if this group's healthy, you can play with anybody in the country.
Exactly. We've seen that for sure. When healthy, you definitely are contenders. So, but we can't forget the non-conference. And we're going to finish out the non-conference before we start into the Big 12 play. And so that will be Sunday. We'll see y'all at the Maggie Dixon Classic against La Tech. I've been your host, Bingo Merriex. This has been State of the Frogs with Coach Mark Campbell, and it's been presented by Richards Rainwater. We'll see you next time.